Governor Kasich wants Ohio lawmakers to take what he calls reasonable steps to tighten Ohio's gun laws. Lawmakers appear ready to loosen the state's gun laws. If the House comes back into session, members will consider a so-called stand your ground law. It would remove the duty to retreat requirement when confronted with a threat in public spaces. It would also shift the burden of proof in self-defense cases from defendants to prosecutors. Derek, does this once again show that the legislature is in no mood to do what John Kasich wants to do in gun control and wants to go the other direction?
Well, I think the legislature sees the governor as a lame duck, so they're utilizing that power right now. And the bill that you're talking about is House Bill 228, and I think that was the bill that was sponsored by Rep. Johnson and Representative LaTourette. And 27 other states have enacted this law across the country, and Ohio's looking to pass this law as well. The problem is we don't have a leader in the House. So until that is rectified, then this bill is still going to be on the back burner. It has passed out of House committee, but we have to elect the speaker first, and then all the other bills that are in front of it are going to have to get their due diligence. And so I don't know if this bill is actually going to move or
if it goes to the floor, it'll be the first time a stand your ground bill gets a vote in the Ohio House. I think that the one important thing is it actually has some support from the Ohio Public Defender's Office, because this idea of shifting the burden of proof in a self-defense case, it would put Ohio in line with all the other states. Right now, the burden of proof is the other.
Yeah, I thought the burden of proof was always on the prosecutor, but in a self-defense case right now, the defendant has to prove that he or she was in fear for their lives.
Right.
And that's why they did what they did.
Right, exactly.
So the idea here is that if we do get a new House Speaker and there is legislation to be made and policy work done, I think that it is possible for this to be called to the floor. And I think this kind of harkens back to the idea of the Democrats do have some power. Maybe they could throw their support behind a Republican. But then what happens if they support somebody like Ryan Smith and then he calls up a bill like Stand Your Ground that they're very much against? I think they could be tagged with supporting legislation like that, supporting different legislation that Democrats don't want. And so I think that just goes back to what kind of strength the Democrats have. But I think that Stand Your Ground is something that could very likely pass the House sometime soon.
Yeah, and even if it passes the House, there's another obstacle. The governor said back in February that he would not, he would veto this bill if it came to his desk.
I think it's got a long road to go before it gets to his desk, though.
The merits of it, Shannon, I mean, we have the castle doctrine. If somebody comes into your home or to your car and you feel threatened, you can use your gun and defend yourself. Why not be able to do that if you're walking down the street or in a park? Does Ohio need this law to protect those folks?
Well, I mean, that's what the proponents are arguing, obviously. And so, I don't know what the answer is, but I would certainly say that what's lacking is a real discussion about all of these issues, and we don't really have a good forum to do that in right now, at least in the House. I supported the Castle Doctrine when I was in the House, and that's certainly reasonable to me. You break into my home, I can protect my home. So I'm just not familiar enough with what the harms are, but I certainly appreciate what the public defenders are saying about the shifting of the burden of proof. But the bigger point is we need to be having robust conversation, and that's not happening in the dysfunction that exists today.
The Trayvon Martin case was a case of this. I'm not sure what Florida's law was at the time. I forget.
I think they did have.
They had standard.
They did have
ground.
standard ground,
and that's
part of the
played a
reason why
role.
he was acquitted. So there's your classic national case on this law.
Another thing to consider is that you do have the bill that has a lot of Governor Kasich's gun control measures in it. If there was a way that maybe legislators would think about amending some of his provisions into the Stand Your Ground bill to make it more likely that he would sign it, that's something to look out for. I think that's, again, a huge if.
Compromise at the State House?
What, have you not seen that lately?
Novel.